Dun, 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 dun. I'm just kidding. It's just me, Ashley. Who here likes superheroes? Superheroes. What do you guys think of when you think of a superhero? Sorry? You're brave? Oh, I like that answer. Say it louder. Uh-huh. Like, you might think of somebody who's super fast or super strong, but I really like the answer of being brave. And when I think of a superhero, I think of somebody who's courageous. And does anyone know what courage is? Yeah, it's kind of a big word, right? And courage is being brave enough to do what you should do, even when you're afraid. Who's been afraid before? I've been afraid before too. Even though I'm wearing my superhero cape, I've been afraid too. So today we're going to talk about two people in our Bible story that were super courageous, and they didn't have a cape and they didn't have a mask, but they had courage. Now, you guys might remember that the leader of the Israelites, which were God's people, was named Moses. Say Moses. And God told Moses to send some men to go check out the land of Canaan. And that's this land that they were traveling to that God promised them. And he told Moses to send one of each tribe from their people to go check out the land, to investigate, right? But first, he had to figure out who to send. So he chose one leader from each of the 12 tribes, and I'm not going to say their names because it's really, really hard to say their names. But Moses told these men that he wanted them to go see what Canaan was like. And no one really knew what to expect. Go, huh. We can do better. Go, huh. Right. And Moses wanted to know things like whether the people who lived in the land were super strong or super weak, if there were just a few people or if there was a lot of people, and if the land was good for growing food. So the 12 men snuck into Canaan like God had instructed, kind of like they were on a spy mission. Shh. And for about 6 weeks, these people traveled throughout that land, and they saw the places where Abraham, can you say Abraham? You guys remember Abraham? And his family had lived hundreds of years before. And then after they were there for 40 days, they came back to tell everyone what they saw. And do you know what they brought back? Grapes. Who likes grapes? Me. But these weren't grapes like these. These are like normal size grapes, right? Like you might eat with lunch or whatever. But these grapes were so big that it says that 2 men had to carry them on a pole with 2 of them. Like you'd need super strength to carry them on your own. Those are really big grapes, right? So they brought back the grapes, and these were super huge grapes. And then the 12 men told Moses and the rest of the Israelites everything they saw. And they said that the land was good and it was full of milk and honey. And that means it's really good for growing food. Like they should totally go there. But then there's bad news. Say, uh-oh. Say, uh-oh. There we go. They said that the people who lived in the land were super powerful and that they had super big walls and cities to protect them. Do you think they were scared? They were a little scared, but one of the men, his name was Caleb, tried to encourage them all together. After all, God had promised them this land. This was the place that God told them to go. And is God with us when we're scared? Yeah, he is. So Caleb says, we should go take the land. Guys, we can do it. But do you know what the other men said? They said, uh-uh. Say, uh-uh. Say, no way, Jose. Yeah, so they said that they shouldn't go. And then they started saying bad things about the land, kind of like, you know, it's really not that great. I'm sure there's something around here. And in fact, the people were so scared that they said it would have been better if they went back to Egypt. Say Egypt. Yeah, and Egypt is when they were slaves. It was not a good place. They asked God to take them out of Egypt, but they were so scared that they wanted to go back to Egypt. But Caleb and another one of the men named Joshua, say Joshua, they spoke up to encourage the people, and here's what they said. They said, "We passed through the land and we checked it out. It's very good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he'll lead us into that land. It's a land that has plenty of milk and honey. He'll give it to us. Don't disobey him and don't be afraid of the people there." Do you think that was courageous of Joshua and Caleb? Because sometimes it's hard to speak up when everyone else is saying something different and you're saying this good thing. Sometimes that's hard and it can be scary. But you know what? The people didn't listen to Joshua and Caleb. And do you know what they did? They got angry. Can everyone make an angry face? Like, "Urgh." Ooh, those are some angry faces. But in the middle of all of this, do you know what happened? The glory of God appeared in front of everyone at the tent that they were meeting at. And God spoke to Moses, and this is what he said: "How long will these people not listen to me? How long will they keep not believing in me?" And Moses begged God to have mercy on the Israelites. And God did forgive the Israelites for not listening to him, but there were consequences. And so because they didn't listen, none of the Israelites except for Joshua and Caleb, the two who spoke up, would be allowed to go into this land. That's not good, is it? Nope. The rest of the Israelites had to wait and wander through the wilderness for almost 40 years. Is that a long time? That's longer than I've been alive, guys. By that time, only Joshua and Caleb were around to lead the next generation, their children, into the promised land, this land that was so good, but they were afraid to go into. So, at the end of those 40 years, Joshua led the people into Canaan, and with God's help, they conquered the city of Jericho. And there were these walls on the city, remember? And they came tumbling down, and the Israelites won. Everyone say, "Yay!" Yay! And after all that time, all that wandering through the wilderness and waiting, they were able to see what God had promised them. Do you think it's kind of hard sometimes to stand up and be brave when you're scared? I think it's hard sometimes, and I got my superhero cape on. But Joshua and Caleb did it because they trusted God and they believed that God was with them and God would help them enter into the land of Canaan too. Which leads me to our bottom line. Let's say it all together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. You can do and when. So good. And period. All right, so that's what we want to remember today, that even when we're scared, that God is with us so we can be brave and do what we should. All right, so we're going to fold our hands, and we're going to close our eyes, and I'm going to pray. Dear God, thank you so much for the story of Joshua and Caleb. Thank you that we can remember that even when we're scared and even when it's hard to be brave, that you're with us. I pray that this week when we're scared to speak up or we're scared to try something new, that we would remember that because of you, we can be courageous. All right, I'm off. Dun, 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 dun!